Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Kingsmen Sports Podcast, episode number 32. And it's 32 because there are 32 NFL teams that will be participating in the NFL draft, not the first round,
Not the
obviously.
first round.
That one threw me for a loop when I was looking up the draft order. Completely forgot that the Dolphins tampering issues with one Tom Brady and Sean Payton. But nonetheless, 32 teams will be participating in the entire draft, which makes sense because that's where we're going to start. We're going to talk about the NFL draft. Jake and I will compete again, give our first round mock drafts. Then we'll freestyle some baseball news. Neither of us have put forth any solid topics that we're going to talk about. We'll just talk about what's going on in the MLB season, and then we will draft our teams for the month of May so you can put together a better record. So a couple of different soapboxes are on the line. A couple different decrees will be won in this episode. Of course, one of them will be a month away. One of them will be decided on Thursday. So that's where we will start the NFL draft, our mock draft. Remember, you get 1 point if it's the right position. You get 2 points, or I say we make it 3 points if you hit it spot on. Give it a little bit more of a boost. So 3 points if you get spot on, 1 if you just get the position right. Last year, I squeaked one out over you, Jacob. So hopefully I'm able to do that again. I didn't get any Cougs in my first round draft this year. We will see. It's going to be a really interesting draft. Let's get right into it, starting with the number 1 overall pick, the Carolina Panthers. Spoiler, you and I are both in agreement in this one. Quarterback Bryce Young from Alabama. I really do think CJ Stroud is the best quarterback, the most ready to play right now. But Bryce Young just blew away the Panthers, it sounded like, with his interviews, with his test scores. So it really sounds like it is a lock. The Panthers take Bryce Young. The only thing that concerns me about him is he's a little bit undersized, but all in all, I like what I see from the Alabama quarterback.
Yeah, but they did their homework. I saw that they were comparing him versus Russell Wilson, similar size for that quarterback role. And this guy was even better at deflected passes in his college career. So I think they're ready to nab him number 1. Frank Reich might be trying to dodge questions, make it not obvious, but it's obvious. I think they all are very confident in where they're going. They're just trying to make it a headline on Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. That is what the number 1 pick is always about, is make that little bit of a splash, draw the attention. Let's move to number 2, where the Houston Texans has a few questions going around about what they do. I think they go quarterback, and I think they take CJ Stroud from Ohio State. I love Stroud. I've been on the record saying I think he is the most talented quarterback. I don't know if he's going to be the most successful quarterback. I'll talk about that a little bit later in this first round. But CJ Stroud, athletic as they come, just a really, really great playmaker. The Texans do still have Davis Mills, so you don't have to thrust Stroud right into the starting lineup. But man, the Texans, they need to commit to a full-on rebuild. I think Stroud's a guy you can really build around. So I've got them taking the Ohio State QB at number 2.
See, and I don't think they move away from Davis Mills yet. There's too many other things going wrong to blame that young quarterback. He's still got potential. I think they go defense here, try to really clean up the rest of the team. They might commit to a new quarterback in the next couple of years. I think that they just need to iron out some of the wrinkles to make sure that they're not setting him up for failure when they do bring him in. I've actually got him going Tyree Wilson here. A lot of drafts have him claiming that number 1 defensive player in the draft. I think that they're going to reach for him and bring him in to their program.
Right. We'll move to number 3, the Arizona Cardinals, who there's no question they don't need a quarterback. The only question is, do they trade that pick, which we don't even play with trades in our mock draft. I've got them taking who I think is the best all-around player in this year's draft. That's the outside linebacker, Will Anderson Jr. from Alabama. Of course, when you're from Alabama, you immediately get eyes on you from NFL scouts. But Will Anderson Jr. is just a superstar in the making. He can do it all. He plays sideline to sideline, very quick, hits like a truck. I think that the Cardinals are going to look to start building their defense, especially with possibly Budda Baker being moved. I just think Will Anderson right there, you have to take him if you're not looking quarterback this early.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. If you're not looking quarterback. So Cardinals aren't doing that. I don't know if they stay at number 3. They might be able to get a pretty penny for someone who is looking to steal an early quarterback here. But if they do stay in place, I also see them going Will Anderson Jr. See them add into their defense, getting one of the best guys here. Many have him ranked above Tyree. Really, like you said, possibly the best skill player in the draft. So we'll see how it goes. But if they stay there, I'm pretty certain they're going to go edge.
Two of the first three picks we're in agreement on. I know we're different here. Number 4, your Indianapolis Colts, big pick early for them. I've got them going quarterback, and I've got them going Anthony Richardson from Florida. Anthony Richardson gives me all sorts of Cam Newton vibes with his athleticism. Some question marks, obviously. Did not blow anyone away in college with his stats. I like him a lot more than Will Levis. That is on record. I think the Colts, they're going to look to have a little bit of a battle at quarterback. Of course, bringing in Gardner Minshew was a little bit of a move from Indy, but I think Richardson has all the intangibles, the athleticism. He's got the physical gifts to be a star. And I think the Colts, I know that they'd love to get a guy like Stroud or Young if they slip, but I think Richardson's the next best thing for Indy.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a team that needs a quarterback. I'm glad we have Mustache Man to assist in the growth there, but he's not a franchise answer to the quarterback question. CJ easily could be if he falls to 4, and so if he's there, they're definitely going to scoop him up. Remember all those top-tier Buckeye receivers in last year's draft board? This guy was throwing to him and making him get those phenomenal stats going. So best quarterback on the board at the time, in my opinion, it'll still be CJ Stroud.
I think that is best case scenario for your Colts. With
Oh, yes, very much pick. So.
Number 5, the first of 2 first-round picks for the Seattle Seahawks. We have a lot of Seahawks fans who watch this podcast, listen to this podcast, being from the Northwest. I've got them going D-tackle with this one. I got them going Jalen Carter from Georgia. There's been a little bit of questions about some weight issues for him, but man, the Seahawks need some help on that defensive line. Of course, they're always looking for help, it feels like, on the O-line, but Jalen Carter has a tremendous work ethic. He's coming off a defense at Georgia where it's almost like an NFL defense constantly in their schematics about them. So I really think that Jalen Carter could be a big-time player for the Seahawks right up the middle, try and help them establish a stronger run defense.
Yeah, I'm actually right there with you. Seahawks and their quarterback really shocked the sports world last year. They paid their quarterback. They have mid to solid weapons around him. Time to work on their defense. So Jalen Carter, I also have him going to the Hawks. Maturity liabilities aside, he has elite skill. Seahawks will help him grow up a bit. He'll fit in just fine in that defense that needs the help.
So we are in agreement with that one as well. Let's move to number 6. The Detroit Lions might be the favorites to win the NFC North this year. They definitely need to go defense. I think with this one, I have them going corner, Devon Witherspoon from Illinois. He hits hard. He flies around. He is very quick. They have lost too many guys in that secondary due to trades, free agency. They need to start restocking that. And I think Witherspoon is a great guy to go out and get. I just love the speed of him, and he's not going to be thrusted in there. He'll have to guard Justin Jefferson, but pretty much everyone else in that division isn't going to blow anyone away. So I think it's a good opportunity for Witherspoon to kind of slowly walk into the water, get his feet wet a little bit until you get Justin Jefferson where you're just thrown in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But I like what I've seen from Witherspoon.
I think we already have as many equal picks this year than we did all of last year. Yeah, Lions need some serious help on defense. If a top defensive lineman is still available, they'll jump on it. Otherwise, they'll get a remarkable cornerback, very physical despite his size. Great at stopping the run game too, which he'll be needed in Detroit. I mean, they gave up over 5 yards a carry last year. So having that versatility as a cornerback is really going to help.
A stud against the screen game as well, too. Forgot to mention that. Plays the screen really well. Well, I know we're going to be different with number 7, the Las Vegas Raiders coming up, because I have a guy going who you already have off the board. I've got them taking edge rusher Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech. They have some good pass rushers, Max Crosby, Chandler Jones, who didn't quite live up to expectations last year. It's time to maybe start thinking about Chandler Jones winding down a little bit. Tyree Wilson comes out there, and even if Jones and Crosby can refine themselves, it gives them a little bit of a breather where you're able to keep guys fresh. Tyree Wilson, an extremely talented pass rusher, and they need guys that can make the quarterbacks in their division uncomfortable, because that division pretty solid at quarterback outside of Russell Wilson. This is a guy who can really go out there and be a game changer at the defensive front.
You know what else you really need in that division? Strong cornerbacks. That secondary is needing some help. I've actually got him going Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. Uh, I could see them going quarterback themselves, but with a few already getting swiped early, I think they're going to try to bolster their secondary. So I've got them going corner.
Yeah, they'd have to really love Will Levis, I think, to take him at number 7. Number 8, I've got Christian Gonzalez going to the Atlanta Falcons, the corner from Oregon. Very smart corner. Atlanta has a lot of holes that they need to fill. Obviously, some weapons issues on offense. Bijan Robinson will probably be tempting for everyone in this draft at this point. But I think Christian Gonzalez is the guy you need to go out there and get. This division is very weak right now. It is up for grabs. If you can build a strong defense, that could be enough to win the division and get to the playoffs. So I think the Falcons are in a good spot to try and catch up to the Saints defensive wise. I think Christian Gonzalez can really help them out. He's been tested against some pretty good quarterbacks in the Pac-12. I really like what this kid brings to the table. And I think he's a great fit for Atlanta.
See, and I've got him staying a lot more local, but still thinking defense. I've got him going Nolan Smith, the edge out of Georgia. They've done some solid work actually in free agency, trying to build that defense a bit. This kid, he's a smaller frame than what you'd expect from most edge rushers, but he plays above his level. I think the Georgia Bulldogs going to stay in Georgia.
Georgia defense just becoming a very popular first round draft pick in the last couple of years. Let's move to number 9, the Chicago Bears, who had the number 1 overall pick, traded it to Carolina for some picks plus DJ Moore. I like that move for the Bears, but I hate that move as a Packers fan. They got to go O-line here. I've got them going Peter Skoronski, offensive lineman from Northwestern. He can play both tackle and guard, which makes him very versatile for the Chicago Bears. They've got their franchise quarterback. I saw what I needed to from Justin Fields last year. They just need to find a way to protect him so he doesn't have to scramble as much. It's more of an option thing for him. Skoronski's a stud. These Midwestern offensive linemen from the Big Ten just always seem to live up to the hype. I think he's the best offensive lineman in this draft, and I think the Bears snag him at 9.
Yep, that's another one we agree on. We've seen Justin Fields a couple years now. There is a massive difference between him being on his game and him looking lost. And what's the difference maker there? Him getting pressured. So get him some help, see what he can do. I've got him going Peter Skoronski as well.
All right. I am going to stick around on the offensive line train at number 10 for the Philadelphia Eagles. They could go offensive or defensive line, but they also have 2 first-round picks. I've got them going Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle from Ohio State. I know that's another similarity. The Eagles, they're starting to get a little bit old on the offensive line. Guys are going to start walking away. No one walked away this offseason. Lane Johnson, he's borderline ready to call it a career. Same with Jason Kelsey. They're ready to win a Super Bowl. And this gives them the opportunity to not have to force their first-round pick right out onto the field. Johnson played at Ohio State, has played against some really good rushers as well. Aiden Hutchinson comes to mind. Obviously, he was a stud for Detroit last year. So this is a guy who's been battle-tested and I think can really have success, especially learning from those veterans.
Yep. Second place ain't bad, but they're looking to return to and win that big game here. Versatile offensive lineman that can play wherever you need him to, including in future years when some guys decide to hang it up. I think that's very important. Let Jalen do what he does. Let him stay comfortable either in the pocket or scrambling bootlegs because that's part of his game plan anyway. I almost had him going running back. I think they kind of want to see what Penny can do here. They've got other picks later on. I think they're going to go. You have to go offensive line here.
We went through the same thought process there because I thought about Bijan for them, but I think you're dead on about Rashad Penny. Next up, number 11. This is a really interesting pick for the Tennessee Titans. They could very potentially move this pick. They could very well take about 3 or 4 different positions, but it sounds like that they will have Ryan Tannehill as their starting quarterback this year. Of course, Malik Willis is also there. I've got them going another quarterback. I got them going Will Levis from Kentucky. I think this is a guy that Mike Vrabel is going to absolutely love. They could move up and try and snag one of those other 3 quarterbacks that go real early, but I think Levis falls them. I'm not a big Levis fan. That is on the record. Obviously, these scouts love him for a reason. So I think Levis goes to Tennessee, and they're going to have to start worrying about rebuilding, especially with Derrick Henry getting up there in age and dealing with a little bit of injuries.
I don't think they're in a place where they can give the keys to a rookie quarterback yet. And trading up, who are they going to trade up with? A division rival? There's not a chance. There's no way. So 3 offensive tackles in a row. Here I go for good reason. Broderick Jones of Georgia. I think this kid is only a sophomore. A lot of people say his natural strength allows him to play with the big boys. I feel like if they get a quarterback already, they're just picking another lamb for the slaughter at this point. Get them some help. Get someone like Broderick. He's going to fit in while you're rebuilding. And a couple years down the line, when you are actually ready, you've got good stopgaps in place. I know, good and Ryan Tannehill coming out of my mouth. Yeah, that was hard to say. You've got decent enough stopgaps in place where you can focus on other things, survive the next year or so, and look to actually have an answer to your problems in the future.
That is a very interesting pick. That's one to watch in round number 1. Let's go to pick number 12, the Houston Texans, their second pick. Guess what? I had him taking CJ Stroud. Why not keep the connection alive? I've got them going Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver from Ohio State. Him and Stroud already have that chemistry together. That'd be an awesome 1-2 or a big play punch. We know that Jackson Smith-Njigba can be a great route runner, or he can be a home run threat, but I just love that combination. I love Smith-Njigba. I think he is phenomenal. He's going to be a star in this league. Unfortunately, I have him going a pick before Green Bay gets their opportunity at him.
That's a bummer. No, I have Texans. I know I just said they aren't looking for a QB, but if Richardson falls all the way to 12, which he very well might if they don't pick a quarterback too early, that's just the way that it falls. I have them going Anthony Richardson. You can mold him over the next couple of years while you still have Davis and see who you want to be leading your team as you come out of a rebuild.
Next up, we've got the Green Bay Packers at number 13, trading with the Jets. The trade is official. Aaron Rodgers is a New York Jet. The Packers do get this 13 pick, move up a couple of spots. I don't think it really mattered in the end. I think there are 3 different guys that the Packers could draft. One of them just went off the board in Smith-Njigba, and the other 2 are both tight ends. It's just which one do they prefer? I've got them going Michael Mayer, tight end from Notre Dame. I think he is the most well-rounded tight end in this draft. The big difference between him and Kincaid is Mayer is a much better blocker, which is very important to the Green Bay Packers. We've seen Mercedes Lewis be a great blocker. We've seen that how much they appreciate blocking from wide receivers like Allen Lazard. I think Mayer, you're really splitting hairs between him and Kincaid. Both of them, I think, have a lot of potential. But I think Mayer, more experienced, more well-rounded, and just a better blocker. I think Green Bay favors him.
Okay, and I did have them going Kincaid there, tight end out of Utah. Wouldn't that just be the ultimate final insult to Rodgers, never using a first-round pick to help him bolster the offensive weapons? I bet they do it for J-Love. They need help on the checkdowns, keeping those drives alive. I bet they go for the big target here. Wide receiver would not surprise me if they're able to get one that they like, but I still got to go Kincaid here.
They also don't have a tight end on the roster, so it's pretty important right now.
Yeah.
We'll move to number 14, the New England Patriots. I think they're going to go offensive line here. I think they take Broderick Jones, the tackle from Georgia. Really young, going to take some time to really fill in to that need, really learn and grow. But guess what? Bill Belichick, he is very patient. He knows how to develop players, and they really, really need a tackle on the outside. They could go in for secondary help, but it always feels like the Patriots make the most of what they have at defense and have a pretty solid defense. So I think priority number 1 is to protect whoever may be at quarterback this year, whether it be Zappe, Mac Jones, whoever gets the nod for the Patriots. So I've got Broderick Jones going 14.
Yeah, I also have them going tackle. No need to overthink this. I don't see the New England taking anything but the best offensive lineman they can get at this point. In my draft board, that's Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. So we'll see how that goes.
All right. Next up at 15, the New York Jets, who of course moved back a couple of spots. They're going to need to protect their new quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. Going to need to get him some protection. I've got them going Darnell Wright, tackle from Tennessee. This is very interesting where the Jets are at. They've got a couple of young running backs who are both banged up last year. They've got some weapons. They just brought over Alan Lazard as well to go along with Garrett Wilson. So the weapons are there for them to have success. The defense is outstanding, in my opinion. I think they have a very, very good defense. So again, like you just said, just simplify it. Just keep it simple, stupid. I think this is the best route to go. I think they go tackle Darnell Wright from Tennessee.
Yeah, with Jets, they made it happen. They got AR-12. Now, time to make him happy. What's up?
AR-8. He's number 8, remember?
Oh,
can't take Joe Namath's number. They announced that today.
That's
so.
right.
AR-8.
That's right. I forgot about that. My goodness, that's gonna be a change.
Yeah, it is. It's gonna be a real change.
Okay. Well, they got Aaron Rodgers. Point there. Make him happy with a top tier Buckeye receiver. If any of the above mentioned offensive linemen are still available, I agree. They're going to scoop them up. If not, Jackson Smith in Jigba is the first wideout off the board, and they'll try to make Rodgers as happy as Green Bay couldn't.
Wow, that's a low blow, but we'll move on to number 16, the Washington Commanders. Now, this is a pick I have no doubt will get moved. I don't see the Commanders picking at 16. I don't think they've got a big need that they need to take a guy this early in, so I think they're going to look for – I think they will go more quantity over quality when it comes to the draft, look for more picks. But for the sake of our mock draft, I've got them going running back Bijan Robinson from Texas. I think Bijan could go anywhere from about 5 into the second round. It really is just a guessing game for where he goes.
Running back.
Yeah, I think he's a big time playmaker, though. I think Washington doesn't really have any great running backs. Brian Robinson obviously had some gunshot injuries that he had to deal with. And Antonio Gibson looks like he's already hitting the downward trajectory of his career. So I think Bijan Robinson gives him an opportunity, gives Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett, whoever's their starting quarterback, a run game, gives them the opportunity to take some pressure off of their quarterback's shoulders, because it's going to be iffy at quarterback no matter who they go with.
See, and I did a lot of digging, and it seemed like every mock draft that I saw had them addressing the same position. Agreed, if they stay there. And it's cornerback. Will Levis still being available makes it a toss. I know they are looking to address quarterback. If they can snag one of those top guys this late, I could see it happening. But I still think corner is their greatest need to address here and now. I've got them going Joey Porter Jr., cornerback out of Penn State.
I really like Joey Porter Jr. In fact, I like him so much. I've got him going at 17 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think, hey, Pittsburgh, just keep everything in state, going last year with Kenny Pickett. Why not go Joey Porter Jr.? Of course, Steelers known for having a solid defense, kind of got picked apart through the air last season, and the quarterbacks in this division are very talented passers. Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's probably the weakest passer, but then you also got Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow. So you've got to have a secondary. And if you can have a guy who can just lock someone down for a handful of seconds, guess what? You got TJ Watt creating all sorts of issues in the backfield. So I think secondary, they need to rebuild this defense. I think they've got everything they need on offense, a lot of young talent. Go Joey Porter Jr. here.
Plus, I mean, you know who Joey Porter Sr. played for. So you gotta. I actually have the Steelers being a little peeved that they missed out on the little Joey, but I think that they also go corner, the next best one off the board. I've got them going Deonte Banks out of Maryland.
I really like Deonte Banks. I'll talk about him later. At number 18, the Detroit Lions, their second first-round pick. I've got them snagging the other stud tight end, Dalton Kincaid from Utah. You already talked about him going to Green Bay. They could go running back here. Of course, they've got some running back-ish holes to fill, but they did bring in David Montgomery, which I think a lot of people are forgetting about. He has the potential to be a great 1-2 punch with DeAndre Swift. Jamal Williams is gone. I think they need to go tight end. They already addressed some of the defense. Kincaid, he's going to try and replace TJ Hawkinson, who's no longer there. So I love everything about Kincaid. Again, him and Mayer, it's a coin flip. Kincaid, a little bit less of a talented run blocker, but the Lions probably a little bit better of an offensive line than Green Bay. So I really like Kincaid to Detroit here.
See, and I'm at the point where I don't know how much help the Lions offense is going to need so long as their defense can actually hold opponents to less than 20 points a game. I think they're going to be fine. I've got them double dipping at defense, going with a defensive tackle that's going to help fill the holes of that line. I've got them going Kalijah Cansey out of Pittsburgh. Strengthening their secondary with the first pick, their line with the second pick, and both of those picks being in the first 2/3 of the first round, in the first round of the draft. I think that they're really going to try to bolster their defense here.
All right, I'm going to stick on defense, and if you like defense right now, I'm going to go 19 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, they could very well go quarterback. This is a sneaky pick for the Bucs right now. It'll be very fascinating. I've got them rebuilding that defense. I've got them going Nolan Smith, the edge out of Georgia. I've got him falling a little bit more than you do. But of course, Todd Bowles, he loves defense. Defensive coordinator, won the Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator. You build a great defense, and the offense, you can take a mediocre offense to the Super Bowl, a la the Denver Broncos when they won, when Peyton Manning was on his way out. So I think they're going to try and rebuild that defense to an elite level, and Nolan Smith's the guy to do that.
See, and I do not think their defensive line is their top priority. I think their offensive line remains their number one need, but their GM has flat out said he would not mind trying their hands at another quarterback. If Will Levis is still available, which he is on the draft board, I've got him going to Kentucky and grabbing a good starting quarterback that they can build around.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and keep sneaking in the same position after you. We're going to go number 20, the Seattle Seahawks. This is where I think they take their quarterback. I have them going Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. I said it in last week or in the last episode. I think Hendon Hooker to Seattle is best case scenario for everybody. I think that makes him potentially the most successful quarterback NFL career-wise in this draft. I love everything about Hendon Hooker. The only issue with him is, of course, that knee injury. I think he's just uber athletic, and going to Seattle, there is no rush to get him out onto the field. Geno Smith locked up. You also got Drew Lock as a backup. Hendon Hooker doesn't have to think about playing this year. Pete Carroll can mold him. Pete Carroll is very good at molding quarterbacks. We saw that when he was at the college level. He knows how to make a quarterback NFL ready. Hendon Hooker to Seattle, I think, is a match made in heaven.
You said that there's no rush for him to be ready in Seattle. There is no rush game in Seattle, so to speak of. Pass rush, that is. What's better than bolstering your defensive line with a first-round pick? Bettering your defensive line with 2 first-round picks. I actually have them going 2 defensive linemen in the first round. Myles Murphy out of Clemson. Give him to Seattle. Seahawks know what their glaring weakness was after last year. Their opponents scored almost 25 points a game. They allowed over 40 points 3 different times. Give me some pressure. Myles Murphy coming off the board at number 20.
Number 21, we got the LA Chargers. Now I'm going wide receiver here. The Chargers, they're losing some receivers. I mean, Michael Williams getting up there. He's boomer bust. Keenan Allen's getting up there in age. I know they just extended him. I've got Zay Flowers, wide receiver from Boston College, going to the Chargers. Super quick. He'd be a perfect slot guy, but he's got some size to him as well. Very good playmaker. Just give Justin Herbert another toy to go out there and to play with. I think they're pretty solid everywhere, especially with Austin Eckler staying put. This Chargers team, they're getting close. It feels like they've got all the pieces. They're just putting the puzzle together wrong. They just need to reset. And as long as Brandon Staley's the head coach, they aren't going anywhere. But I think Zay Flowers is the right call here for LA.
Funny, I actually do have him going Zay Flowers as well. Look, in my opinion, Austin Eckler is gone next year. As soon as he's allowed to leave, whether they end up trading him, whether they let him play out and he gets big bucks somewhere else, he's gone. If they were smart, I think they'd be looking for an Eckler replacement this year. But so far, from the way that they have treated and handled that situation, they're telling me that they're not smart. They're focusing on 1 star and 1 star only. That's Justin Herbert. They're going to go out and get him another weapon. And Keenan Allen, like you said, it cannot be elite forever. They've got a lot of people that I thought would have been on their way out 3 years ago. And so Zay Flowers coming in, I think that that's immediate gratification that they're looking for. And I think they're kind of saying, I think they're in a better position in running back than they think they are.
Let's move on to 22, the Baltimore Ravens, where who knows what is going on with Baltimore? Who knows what's going on with Lamar Jackson? Nobody feels like has any idea what's going to happen there. So I went ahead and went bread and butter for the Baltimore Ravens. That defense needs some help. Deontay Banks, I have sliding a little bit the corner from Maryland. I've got the Ravens scooping him up. Again, same thing with Pittsburgh. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in that division. Kenny Pickett, I know you're still really high on him. He showed a lot of potential last year. I'm buying in a little bit, not as much as you are, but a little bit. But you're gonna need someone to slow down guys like Pickens. You gotta have to slow down guys like Jamar Chase. The receivers in that league just seem to be continuing to pile up for talented players. You're going to need to have a couple of corners. Really, I've got Deontay Banks being that next great corner for the Baltimore Ravens.
See, and you said it. Another team, I'm just baffled about how things are going between them and their players. I actually have them going offense here. One of the best players in one of the higher end positions left.
You're good.
I'm going Quentin Johnston, wide receiver out of TCU. I think that giving weapons to whoever they decide to put in at quarterback, that's, in my opinion, their defense doesn't need that much help. Their defense was pretty spectacular, especially in the division that they found themselves in. I think that a few more weapons is really going to be a difference maker for that team.
Of course, it all depends. Who is playing quarterback, Baltimore? Please tell us. We need to know.
And whoever's not playing quarterback, where are they going? Because that could change any of these early picks very easily.
Yeah. Lamar could get traded tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's going to be fascinating.
He could be a draft pick trade package tomorrow. I mean, or the next couple of days. I mean, there's no telling. It's crazy.
It could be next year. I have no idea what's happening with Lamar. Let's move to number 23, the Minnesota Vikings. This was one of the easier picks, honestly, for me. And hey, Sean, I know you just joined this podcast just to watch and see who we have your Vikings taking. I've got them going edge rusher Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. I think that he's going to be the best edge rusher still available by the time it gets to the Vikings. I think they'd be a little bit interested in quarterback, but I don't think there's anyone really worth getting with the number 23 pick for Minnesota. I think Van Ness, they definitely need some help with the pass rush. They've got a lot of aging vets as their pass rushes. Of course, Zadarius Smith just seems to be a mess. Danielle Hunter getting up there in age. Lucas Van Ness could be that guy who's able to try and help this defense get back to being that formidable defense that they were in the late 2010s.
Yeah, see, I've got them looking for a top corner, but with the board already kind of wiped clean on those, I think they're going to be looking to the future here. Solid upside quarterback, lower price tag, Hendon Hooker falling down to 23. I think they jump on him.
I love Hendon Hooker. I have made that abundantly clear.
Would you love him if he was a Viking?
I think that they'd rush him a little bit. I don't think he'd learn as much with Minnesota. I'm telling you, I think everything works out well.
Why would they rush him? They're pretty happy with how their quarterback position is going right now. I think that
I don't think pretty happy is necessarily the word. I think they're
decently content.
Yeah, that's a little bit better. But hey, there were allegedly talks at the combine of a potential Kirk Cousins trade to San Francisco for Trey Lance. So I don't really know what is going on per se with Kirk Cousins.
Do you think that the Vikings are less happy with Kirk Cousins than the Seahawks are with Geno?
I do. I think you might just be scratching the surface of what Geno can do. Geno absolutely lit it up last year, and there was no pressure on the Seahawks to do anything last year. The fact that they made a playoff game was more than enough. The Vikings,
I think that really helped Geno Smith. I mean, nobody was scouting him. They didn't have that.
So you're buying in on Geno. You think Geno Smith's gonna be a play at that level for this entire contract?
No, but I'm thinking that the Seahawks are kind of in that, okay, we're good for a couple of years, just like the Vikings are saying we're good for a couple of years, and we can bring in that quarterback and not rush them too early in that situation for Hooker.
I just don't think they are as happy with Kirk Cousins as you think they are. I really don't. I think the fact that there were rumors going
I
around that
think you
Cousins
could put
was
Ryan
being shopped.
Tannehill there, throw into Jefferson, and he's going to have success. I don't think there's rush to have Hooker be. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. But
Well, the fact that the big reason is Seattle also has a very competent backup in Drew Lock, a guy who's played in the NFL. Who's the Vikings backup, Jacob?
they've had like 7 in the last 5 years. So
rest my
no
case. And most of those 7 have seen playing time because Kirk Cousins gets a little bit banged up. So again, I can't believe we're getting this passionate about the Vikings pick, which blows my mind. But Hendon Hooker, I think, is going to be good no matter where he goes. Just like I said that about Justin Fields. So I'd like to see him not be in the division. I don't think he's going to be in the division. So we'll move on to number 24, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've got them going O-line. I've got them going Anton Harrison from Oklahoma. I think we saw what we needed to see from Trevor Lawrence. I think he's their franchise quarterback. He had a very good year. The Jaguars kind of surprised everyone by making the divisional round after that comeback win over the Chargers and giving the Chiefs a pretty good fight. They didn't just get their doors blown off in that game. Cam Robinson is coming off a serious knee injury, and the last year of his contract, he could be done. So it's time to start building that O-line, giving these young guys an opportunity, getting Trevor Lawrence familiar with what these young guys can do on the offensive line. It's time to protect that franchise quarterback now. Harrison's the guy to do that.
Yeah, I've also got him going offensive line. I've got him going Osiris Torrance out of Florida. This is a great short-term and long-term strategy for this team. Their entire offensive line seems to move around constantly. They just have constant issues. This kid is huge. He's going to give them the flexibility to be able to do what they need to do this year, next year, 4 or 5 years from now. I think that that's a great pick for them.
All right, let's jump to number 25, the New York Giants. Of course, Daniel Jones seems like they're committed to him. Why not get him a weapon? I've got them going wide receiver from USC, Jordan Addison. We've seen some USC wide receivers come out. Drake London just came out last year, and he looked pretty ready to go. I think Addison's a really good guy to have for the Giants. Just continue to build up that offensive weaponry. I mean, Saquon Barkley had a great bounce back year. Now you're going to have to start adding in the next layer to it. Jordan Addison, I think, could be a guy to do just that.
Yep, that's another one that we agreed on. Another team that would love to have a cornerback doesn't really find themselves in the running for one of the top guys. They're going to keep trying to give Danny Dimes a shot with playmakers. I see him going Jordan Addison as well.
Now to the Dallas Cowboys, another team who we have a few fans of the Cowboys that listen to this podcast. I have them going D-tackle Kalijah Kancey out of Pitt. He is a big-time playmaker. I know you liked him. You had him going a little bit earlier. There's no questioning that he can be a playmaker. A little bit smaller on the defensive the defensive lineman side of things, but he is very quick, very strong. Some people have said this guy's kind of like Aaron Donald-ish. Not Aaron Donald, but Aaron Donald-ish. He can definitely change the game, and I think the Cowboys are going to need to find a way to improve that defensive line a little bit. I think Kancey to the Cowboys is a solid pick.
See, and I don't think that any of the defensive linemen that they're looking at are going to be available anymore. I've actually got them going tight end, Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame. Tight end is a little deeper this year, but I think the Cowboys are going to pounce on him to replace Schultz. Feel good about themselves for doing it, too. I think that's a pretty even offset for who they lost this year.
I obviously like Michael Mayer. I don't have him dropping near the Dallas Cowboys. Now let's move to the Buffalo Bills at 27. A lot of these mock drafts have them going wide receiver, which I don't necessarily think should be their top priority, but I think since everyone's feeling that that's where they're going, probably where they're going to go. So I've got them taking Josh Downs from North Carolina. I think this is where we could see a Washington State Coug go in the first round, and Deion Henley. Henley is a round 1 caliber player. It's just I don't think anyone's really necessarily all bought in on a linebacker here in the first round. Josh Downs is very quick. He's a slot guy, can replace Cole Beasley, probably better than Cole Beasley, especially when in the age category, and is quicker than Cole Beasley. Just like I said about Justin Herbert, give him some more toys. Josh Allen, just give him those weapons and let him play with it.
See, and it's funny that you mentioned linebackers because I think opposite tight end that's, very deep this year, linebackers looking a little slim. I've got him going Jack Campbell out of Iowa. I think Bills go early and grab a smart defensive kid, can team up with Matt Milano and really take that team, solve some of their issues that we were kind of seeing teams take advantage of last year.
100%. The Bills, I think we can all agree, laid an egg in what we thought they were going to be, especially through the first few weeks. Let's move to number 28, the Cincinnati Bengals, who took out the Buffalo Bills. The Bengals, I think, obviously they need some offensive line help in this year's draft. I don't know if they take it in the first round. I've got them going Myles Murphy at DN from Clemson. I think he is a great 1-2 with Trey Hendrickson. Rush that passer, make these quarterbacks feel uncomfortable. They've got a really slept on secondary. That secondary is very talented for the Cincinnati Bengals. So if you can give that quarterback a little less time to really read that secondary, you're going to create more turnovers, give Joe Burrow more opportunities to get on the field. So I think another edge rusher is the right guy in Myles Murphy.
See, I've heard defense. I've heard tight ends. No, Bengals are going offensive line here if they have any brains at all. Protect Joe Burrow. Let him play without fearing for his life and enjoy the show. I had Anton Harrison falling down to 28. There is no question in my mind if he is available, they're going to scoop him up.
Again, I want to put this out to the people watching. It's all about how we view one. If we just view something early in the draft, it changes everything for later in that round. So it's just different ways of thinking the pieces, how they fall.
Right. Like in that situation, if Anton Harrison's available for the Bengals, absolutely. For, I don't remember some examples that you had, but if that player did not get picked by this team, but then the next 7 teams don't need him, then he's a no-brainer for this team at 21. So, yeah, you're exactly right.
It's just a domino effect. Let's move to 29, the New Orleans Saints. I've got them going another Clemson player, D-tackle Brian Bresee. Very impressive player. He is still just getting into his grown man strength. He's just a sophomore in college. He is getting stronger. He's getting bigger. He's getting more physical. Why not just keep adding to this defense, which always stays consistent as the strength of the New Orleans Saints? Again, quarterback's best friend, great defense. So Derek Carr, if he can get a good defense to counteract potential lack of weapons, I'm talking about Alvin Kamara, obviously, don't really know what's going to happen with him. But if you get a good defense, put less pressure on Carr, I think this team can thrive and potentially be the team to beat in the NFC South.
Yeah, I was putting some stock into him last year, and it didn't quite work out, but they seem to be doing more. Again, if everything works out, they seem to be in a much better position at the beginning of the year than the rest of their division rivals. I've got him going defensive line as well. I've got him going Lucas Von Ness. Saints need edge rushers. Von Ness will be an absolute steal this late in the draft. They'll slide him right in. He will be a day 1 starter.
All right, let's move to 30, where I found this interesting. In one of the mock drafts, they had the Eagles moving up to 23 and taking the player that I have them still getting at 30. So apologize. Bear with me as I try and pronounce his name. I've got them taking a D-end out of Northwestern, Adetomiwa Adebawore.
Attaboy.
All right, that's the only time I'm even going to attempt to say that. He is a freak of nature, very quick on the defensive line. And I think the Eagles, you talked about it with their first pick. Do they go defensive lineman, then offensive lineman? Either way, they're going to take those 2 positions, I think, more than likely. Maybe they surprise us and take a running back, but those are the top 2 needs for this team, and I think they address them both.
Yeah, see, I did have him go on offensive line first pick. If Dijon Robinson slides all the way down, which he very easily could, running backs, you cannot judge running backs in that first round. I think they've got to take him. If you watched our Super Bowl recap, you'll know the Eagles need some help at running back. They'll get it with the only running back to come off the board in round 1. Good second to last pick. I know they went out, they got Rashad Penny, but if you have someone like that really shined in college, can be hopefully a future running back for a while. I know they don't have the longest longevity in the league, but you're going to jump on it if you get the chance.
And one thing you didn't mention is the Eagles and Nick Sirianni, they love to have a running back by committee. They're not just going to use 1 or 2 guys. So just adding to that running back room is something that Sirianni, I think, is always interested in doing as well. Let's close out. Remember, number 31, the Miami Dolphins don't have a pick, so it's only 31 picks in the first round. The Kansas City Chiefs, I have them going O-line. I've got them taking guard Osiris Torrance from Florida. You had him going earlier than I did. Obviously, he's a first-round talent. A couple of teams would love to have him. He dominated all throughout the Sun Belt, and then he transferred to the SEC where he continued to dominate. So this guy just plays up to whatever level he is playing at. Now he's going to really have the opportunity to, guess what, protect one of the best quarterbacks in football in Patrick Mahomes.
See, and my mind, I was still thinking of him as a Florida kid, and I'm like, oh, you're still going on about Miami's. Nope, they don't have a pick. Sorry. Yeah, we're talking Chiefs. This pick was hard. What do Chiefs need? Some offensive linemen, most of the ones that I think are at that caliber already off the board. So I've got them going defensive line. Andy Reid loves him some McDonald's. I got him going Will McDonald the fourth, an edge rusher out of Iowa State. I think that they need a lot less help than any other team in the game right now. They don't have the holes that teams just feel the need to fill in this first round. I think that they're going to kind of be spoiled and, who's left? We're going to get a steal of a pick rather than addressing our top need. I think that Will McDonald the fourth is going to be kind of that best in class that's left on the board.
All righty, so that wraps up our first round of the mock draft. We're not even going to pretend to talk about the second or third or the rest of the rounds. We just go round one. So I will have our draft order, our draft picks listed below this video so you can kind of keep along if you're interested in seeing who wins. We can't obviously lie and say, oh, no, I had this person. It's on video. So that'll do it for our NFL mock draft. We'll see who is able to get the win again. 1 point for right position, 3 points if you hit a spot on right player as well. That'll do it for the draft segment. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's time to talk some MLB baseball. It's just going to be kind of a freestyle. We both got some things that we've noticed. We'll talk about that coming up next here on the Kingsmen Sports Podcast.
The opioid crisis is real, and many families are dealing with this insidious problem. It can attack anyone, from illegal street drugs to legal prescriptions. American Behavioral Health Systems is here to help and has responded to this issue with our secure withdrawal management center. It's specialized medication-assisted opioid treatment and detox for low-income and Medicaid-eligible clients. The time is now to free yourself from addiction. For more information, go to AmericanBehavioralHealth.net.
Good Health Nutrition Center in Centralia is your home base for nutrition. When you visit Good Health Nutrition Center, you'll find the largest selection of vitamins, supplements, and natural remedies. You may be surprised to also find a huge selection of healthy groceries such as gluten-free products, environmentally friendly products, organic fruits and vegetables, and items for specific diets like the diabetic diet. Good Health Nutrition Center, powering students and athletes from the inside out. Good Health Nutrition Center on Harrison in Centralia.
Welcome back to the Kingsmen Sports Podcast. It is time to talk some Major League Baseball. And again, this is just going to be kind of a freestyle. We're going to talk about all sorts of different things. The one thing that I want to start off by talking about is I'm a little biased with this one, but I want to talk about the Mariners. There's a couple of things to talk about with them. First things first, the news that just dropped today, Robbie Ray is done for the season, and that immediately throws ramifications across all of baseball because Jerry DePoto is going to be immediately looking for starting pitching. I don't know how much he's in love with any of the in-house options, but Robbie Ray going down is a big loss for the Mariners. I know some fans have some opinions about him. They aren't too fond of him, but he made this rotation better, especially with how Chris Flexen's been struggling to throw the ball to begin the year.
Yeah, he 8 innings. Don't get me wrong. He was not a Cy Young winner last year, but if you look at the stats as a whole, he kept us in games when he needed to. And there always seemed to be one inning that got to him. That seems to be the Mariners' curse all the time. So he's going to be very, very missed. Not just his talent, but that's a lot of money on the books that is not being used to win games right now. So we'll see how that falls into place.
Also, the fact that he doesn't have to be a Cy Young candidate with Luis Castillo taking over the ace role.
Yep.
Now let's talk about the positive for the Mariners. Jared Kelenic looks like he could be the MVP candidate for the Mariners. This guy is absolutely raking. He has figured it all out. He's playing with confidence. He's having fun. this is the Jared Kelenic we anticipated coming up. And I think Julio's success took a lot of pressure off him and maybe even lit a fire like, hey, man, this guy just came up and was dominant right away. What can I do to get to that level? Now, all of a sudden, Kelenic's at that level. Julio's had some bad luck this year. He's hitting the ball hard just right at guys. That'll obviously even out, I think. But, man, if you can get those guys going, that could be one of the better 1-2 punches in all of baseball.
Yeah, that is looking to be a good outfield. Don't forget Teo in the outfield there too. Yeah. He's hit homer after homer. He's held that trident more than anyone these last few games. So, Julio was off to a slow start last year as well. I'm not reading too much into it. I think he will be just fine. He's still getting on base. He's still making teams fear him, and he's just fallen into some bad luck with some balls hit into play. But yeah, Jared, he's looking exactly like we wanted him to look when we gave up Diaz. And the work ethic that went in. I mean, I'm reading story after story about he barely spent any time at home this year in the offseason. He was working with hitting coach, hit guru, changing the way that he approaches the plate. It's paying off. It is a completely different swing. It is contagious as soon as you start hitting. And I was reading, he doesn't have a single pop out this year. Not a single one. That kind of success carries on into confidence, which leads into more success. It's just a snowball effect. And I can't wait to see. I mean, if he finishes the year above 300, I'm going to be ecstatic.
Yeah, and of course, there's other guys who haven't got going yet with the power swings. Gino hasn't really got his power stroke going. Cal Raleigh hasn't got his power stroke going. Ty France can, but I don't know if he's necessarily going to need to this season. Right. He might just be a get on base like J.P. Crawford has been. So it's been fun.
J.P. Crawford has been getting on base a lot. His batting average, not as high as I would love to see it. His on base percentage is just phenomenal. Awesome. And one thing that I have loved is he is pulling the ball more. I have said for years and years, my goodness, if he just doesn't try to Ichiro slap the ball, pull the ball, use some of his power. JP has been pulling the ball and getting easy single doubles often. I've been liking what I've been seeing with him at the plate.
Jacob, that is in a large part due to the shift. They were shifting J.P. Crawford, so now guys are able to worry about pulling the ball. Let's put away our Mariners bias a little bit.
Hold up. One more.
This episode of Mariners Minis.
We'll break it into Mariners Minis afterward. But 2 days from now, Mariners City Connect unis dropping. How are you feeling about that? Did you see the leak? I did see the leak. I like them. I think they look pretty cool. I do think they could have been better, but I don't hate them, which is the most important thing. They didn't try to do too much. I would rather they play it safe and solid than do too much and flop.
I will agree that no blue pants. Please, no blue pants.
Yeah, we don't need Aquaman over here. We're okay.
We do have the stripe,
but I mean, a nice white to go with it. Would you be against? Yeah, you would. Yellow pants.
I'd be against that. Yeah. You should be against that too.
I think I am. Yeah, I would have to see the entire ensemble, but I think as soon as I saw it, I would say no, that's not it. Yeah. Those uniforms, if you would have told me, if I knew absolutely nothing about the Mariners and you told me that those were actually their uniforms from when they came into the league in the 70s, I would have believed you. They look solid.
Yeah. You have a couple of topics that you wanted to talk about. I think you wanted to talk about injuries, really, which I actually have thought of something to say about that. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Okay. Yeah. This was one of the things I wanted to say a couple weeks ago, and then you almost talked me out of it. Like, hold on, am I overthinking this? Let me do a little bit more recon and see how we're looking. But it just seems everywhere I'm looking, I am seeing guys are going on the DL, guys are going on the injury list for longer stints of time. And so I actually looked at some of the numbers, and between the start of spring training and now. Actually, I'm going to go back a little ways because I was looking at this a little earlier in the week when I was prepping. 20 days into the season is when my actual numbers are from. 236 players have hit the IL to some degree. That's higher than past years by a lot. Looking at last year, it was 189. That's about 40 more players going to the injury list. The year before that, it was COVID. It was a shorter season, but straight out the gate without the full spring training, 192. Seasons before that, I'm seeing 151, 181, 170, 140, 170. That's like a 30% increase. That is a lot of players. And I'm not one of those that's like, hey, this is just because of the pitching clock. But you got to wonder what's going on. Why is it so prominent right now? I mean, every single day, it seems like somebody else is heading to the DL, either precautionary, and the teams are not making a big deal out of it yet. I know, we've read a couple of those, and you text me, it's starting already. Jacob deGrom, what's going on there? Somebody just yesterday, I think they pulled him. He left the game early. I can't remember the name right now. I'd have to look at my news articles again. But then some big ones too. Play Robbie Ray missing a significant amount of time the rest of the year. That's hurting the game. I don't know what's causing it. I don't know how to fix it, but something's going on.
I think you said a key word in your description, and that is precautionary. I think we're seeing contracts obviously get jacked up. Guys are getting paid more money than they ever have in this sport or any sport. They are getting paid a ton. They're not getting paid for games in April, May, or even June. They're getting paid for those late season, the playoffs. I think teams are being a little bit more careful with these guys. I think one little thing, and they're like, you know what, let's just shut you down. It's still early. I think you'd see more of these guys play through some of these injuries later on in the season because we've seen in years past, small injuries, precautionary stuff. Guy gets pulled out of the lineup, but he's back in a day or two later, and all of a sudden that injury snowballs into something much more serious.
Or just affects their play for
exactly.
far too long.
I think it's all about, these games matter, but we need to have these. We have enough talent to win games without player A. So let's go ahead and get him rested up, and then we'll bring back player A. We'll make sure he's healthy in August, in September, and if you make it that far, October. So I think that plays into it a lot more than I think might be led on. I'm not sure if that's 100% the case. I think injuries might just be up for who knows what reason. Honestly, we really don't know. Are guys pushing it too much in spring training? I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows.
We've seen a big uptick in the less physical, more psychological IL stunts.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that very well could, I think that's those ones that are happening are being made a bigger deal. Like you're seeing those ones. You're not seeing all the physical stuff. Yeah. So I think that number isn't as high to make that number jump from what you say about 180 to 230 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Do you think the MLB is going to kind of embrace the spirit that the NBA did and just constantly, here's some time off? I know that you have rest days for guys because you have the depth and the season length that's going to happen. But do you think that, guys sit out a series, guys sit out a week just to make sure that they stay closer to that 100%?
I think it's all going to be based on the manager. I think that's going to be a team by team basis. The NBA, they don't want their players sitting out. They don't want these guys sitting out of games, especially road games where people are paying money just to see this specific player play, and then they show up and he's sitting out for a rest day. Rest days are built into the NBA. MLB, you get way less of them, but you sit out a game of a series way more often. That could happen. It very well could happen. But I think that's more going to be a team by team basis, what you want to do. And it really depends on the player as well sometimes. I mean, we're also seeing guys come back from some major injuries way quicker than we've ever seen. Bryce Harper sounds like might be ready to go in May.
Yeah.
This guy had Tommy John surgery after the season ended in November, December is when he actually had the surgery. He's already coming back to play first base. So, I mean, it's not even like he's just coming back to DH. He is going to play defense for the Philadelphia Phillies. So I don't know if that is also going to help, but they feel like they can heal these minor injuries a little bit quicker and maybe just, hey, IL. And it could also, one other thing is it could just be, this guy's not going to be able to help us. IL, we can bring someone else back up. So I think there's a lot of different answers to this question. All of them could be very likely part of the answer to what's been going on.
Yeah. I still think to some degree we are going to see what the pitch clock is doing, the speeding up of games, the less rest time for pitchers between pitches, for pitchers between innings, for players between innings. I do think that it's going to be taxing on the body. I'm not thinking that that's the only culprit and we need to shut it down and we'll immediately go back that 30% and everything will be right again. But I do think that's definitely going to play a factor in it in these first few years as they implement and kind of experiment with these rules.
And stolen base attempts going up. Obviously, when you have guys trying to steal, that's going to see some injuries go up. You can pull something just by running to second base. So there's probably a bunch of different factors that are going into that number. I'm going to be curious to see how many of those injuries are pitchers. I might look into that over the next couple of weeks as compared to position players, just so we can have that split going on. Let's move on from that topic. Let's talk about some actual teams. I mean, we can talk about the Tampa Bay Rays all day long. Are there any teams that you're really, I mean, I'm not buying into the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've been a fun start to this team, but if there's any team I'm buying into a hot start, it's the Baltimore Orioles. It's not just that they're hot anymore. They ended last season on fire, made a push for a playoff spot. They started this season on fire. Looked like they could contend for the AL East crown. Is there any team that's jumping out to you that you're like, I don't buy this, but this one could very well be a playoff team?
You know who I am seeing in first place, and I kind of said a little bit at the beginning of the year, Texas Rangers. I'm telling you, it does depend on if they can keep their guys on the field, but they're outplaying the Astros right now. Astros are having to deal with, that's exactly who it was. Yordan Alvarez was the one that got pulled precautionary from the game. But Astros are already having to deal with some depth issues, and the Rangers are taking advantage and off to a really hot start, finding themselves in first place in the division when a lot of people had them in fourth or fifth place. So we'll see how it goes, but they seem to be clicking.
Just at me. I had the Rangers in fourth place, so just call me out, I guess.
and nobody had them in fifth place, I'll be honest. So it was
you're a liar. You're a liar. Let's go ahead and that could be a topic we can talk about right now. The Oakland A's, soon to be Las Vegas A's. That's pretty much a done deal. They are going to be moving to Vegas.
Well,
which is
not a done deal, because there's some public funding that needs to be raised, and that is a big question mark right now. But it seems like they think it's happening. They're already doing an exit in the underground tunnels, and
it's gonna happen.
I agree. But I wouldn't call it a done deal yet, because
it's a done deal.
Okay.
But it's unfortunate.
I called
for
Aaron
Oakland.
Rodgers to the Jets the done deal 3 weeks ago, and you said I was jumping on it. So we'll see.
No, I think that was before Aaron Rodgers said he was going to play for the Jets. So
it was actually, it was a couple of days before he said that.
I wasn't questioning you. I was questioning your source. I won't name him just for a potential opportunity down the line, but I won't talk about him. But it sucks for Oakland because they have a rich history. I mean, we just did their Mount Rushmore in the last episode. A lot of talented players, a lot of successful years. It's a stadium I feel like I'm going to have to hit now before they close it up forever. I mean, the Raiders are gone. They're not going to play there. So it really sucks for that city.
It wasn't that special. I'll be honest. I've been there. I got some Oakland A's memorabilia when I was there as a kid. It's not that special.
I don't care if it's that special. I want to see every baseball stadium. I really don't care. I want to see them all. So it is one I want to live in. I'm going to have to avoid a possum potentially that's just living in O.co. But I mean, I feel bad for that city.
You'll have to avoid
Warriors,
Oakland people. So
Yeah, that's not going to happen, unfortunately. But yeah, the Warriors leave, the Raiders leave, and now the A's are leaving. I really do feel for the people of Oakland who are passionate fans.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, Las Vegas is a budding sports city. We've seen the Raiders kind of, I wouldn't say thrive, but turn over a new page and really be contenders. People are talking about them each and every year, whereas that wouldn't happen for 10, 15 years at a time in Oakland. And just the opportunities that you're going to have. I mean, if you have a guys weekend to Vegas, you can catch a game. That to me is going to be a lot better of an opportunity for that organization. I hope that they do it the right way. I would love to see them keep the A, keep the logo, maybe change the colors a little bit. That doesn't really seem to match the Vegas vibes. But I think that that's going to be good for the team. Not so much for Oakland, but I guess they can go across the bay to watch games. California teams are kind of spoiled in that sense. Let's be honest. If it was any other sport and you had to go 25 miles to see your team play, that would not be a big deal. So
I have to go farther than that to see my team play. So
right, exactly.
But if they change colors, it better be black and gold. Kind of copy the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, the Raiders have the black, so you got to have black incorporated if you're going to Vegas, I guess. All right, let's finish this up real quick. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to edit out all the time that you think about this. What's a hot take that you have for the MLB season?
I think we are going to see multiple perfect games this year.
Ooh.
Yeah. There have been a lot of really close calls. Drew Smiley, what a heartbreak that was. Spencer Strider, everybody was bagging on Matt Olson, and then, Gene Segura with the bat flip to end the no-hitter anyway. Luis Castillo, almost perfect for...
Luis, come on, get his name right. He's on your team. You said Luis.
I said Luis.
No, you said Luis.
I said Luis.
No, you said Luis. I'm going to cut it and send it to you. You said Luis.
Okay, you can, but I just said it in the Latino way. It's Luis Castillo.
You said Luis.
No,
1,000%. Yes.
No. Not a chance. Leave this whole thing in. We're good.
Yeah, I will. So you can see you're wrong.
Luis Castillo, almost perfect through, was it 7-1?
Through 6.
6-1.
He got into the 7th.
Okay. And then just as an added, the AA Trash Pandas losing their no-hitter 7-5, kind of right there alongside. We'll combine the no-hitters in the perfect games. So either, I'll say it this way, 2 perfect games or 4 no-hitters.
Okay. I'm game with that. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
My hot take, so we're going to see a 400 hitter this season. I think Luis Ariz is going to hit over 400.
I thought you were going to say JK. Okay.
No, he's not a guy who's going to hit 400. Luis Ariz is a base hit guy. He's going to go up there. He's going to spread the ball all over the field. And I think, man, you thought that the Marlins were asking for a lot. Pablo Lopez looks like he was worth the trade for the Minnesota Twins. He's the ace of a staff that could go into the playoffs. I mean, they just finally took a season series from the Yankees for the first time since 2001. But Luis Ariz is unbelievable. He's showing that he's no one-hit wonder. This guy is a hitting machine. The best pure hitter, I think, in the sport since Ichiro. He's a special to watch, and he's a blast to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Baseball's a blast to watch. I love it.
Oh, I love baseball. That's all I watch. I did try and call a Randy Arozarena home run, missed it by about a foot or two, turned into a sac fly, and then I tried again, got a Teoscar Hernandez home run call on the very next pitch after I said it. So all in all, things are looking pretty good for me.
There you go.
That's going to do it for our baseball talk. We got one more segment coming up. Jacob and I are going to do our May team drafts. That's going to be coming up next year on the Kingsmen Sports Podcast.
Alderson's Awards West Printwares is your one stop to tell the world about your school, club, or business. Spread the word on jackets, shirts, hats, and more from Awards West Printwares in Centralia. Awards West Printwares offers fast service of quality products including screen printing and embroidery done on site. They offer a wide variety of advertising specialties at great prices and delivered right to your door. For a full catalog, go online to aldersons.net. For maximum impact, Aldersons Awards West Printwares is ready to serve you today. Pacific Mobile Structures are big supporters of kids and athletics. If you are in need of temporary office space on a work site or for overflow space, or if your building is in need of major renovation, Pacific Mobile Structures can keep your company at work. Pacific Mobile Structures offers everything from traditional modular classroom space to complete multi-purpose college campus buildings, including Sage Classrooms, which combine the latest in healthy learning environments with the best in green building practices. Pacific Mobile Structures can also offer you permanent space for a fraction of the cost to build your own. Go online to check out Pacific Mobile Structures.
Welcome back to the Kingsmen Sports Podcast. It is time to wrap up this episode with our MLB May team drafts. Now, normally we have a little bit of a rule for the first one. We're not going to have any rules. Just you're going to draft 5 teams. Jacob, I won the majority of these last year. I think it was pretty close. It might have been 3-2, somewhere in there. But I did win the most of them. So I am going to go ahead and give you the opportunity to make the first pick in this year's May team draft. The floor is yours.
All right. Looking at the schedules, I'm going to go with the Mets, team number 1.
Ooh.
I think they might have the easiest schedule in May, and they're still one of the most talented teams. For me, that's an easy number 1 call.
Well, that leaves me. We're doing the snake, right?
Yep. I know.
So that gives me a little bit more leeway. I was going to take, I 100% thought you were going to take the Tampa Bay Rays or the Atlanta Braves. So I'm going to definitely take the Atlanta Braves first. Okay. I think this team's clicking right along. They're going to get some starting pitching back as well. And they're going to play some teams that are hot and cold for sure. They're going to have to be hot to beat the Atlanta Braves. And
they've got a gauntlet of a schedule in May. That I had them a lot further down on my list because of who they're playing against.
I just don't see Baltimore staying hot. I think Texas is going to have some issues. Remember, Texas, they're not playing a team like the Atlanta Braves right now. The Phillies are really struggling, and they finished that month against Oakland. So that is 3 wins right out of the gate right there. So I just think the Braves, in my opinion right now, are really, really impressive. Probably the second most impressive team to the Tampa Bay Rays. Look at the Rays schedule. You just talked about the gauntlet that the Atlanta Braves face. So I'm actually going to take a flyer on the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm going to go ahead and say I'll see if you're around here in the next pick. I'm going to take the Houston Astros. They've got 6 games against Oakland in that month. They also get to play the White Sox, the Angels, who are up and down. I think the Astros are getting hot at the right time. I think they're going to build off of a pretty strong series against Atlanta. I really think the Astros are about to turn the corner.
Yep, I'll be honest. Astros were my number 2. If you didn't pick them, I did not think there was a chance for me to get them at 4. But if you did not pick them, I would have pounced. I'm going to go Padres with number 4. Little underperforming in the win-loss category, but it'll fall into place. There's some stars that have not clicked yet. Tatis coming back. Other than the Dodgers, maybe the Yankees and the Twins, not a very difficult schedule. So give me the Padres with number 4. Number 5 is where I'm going to take Tampa. 20 wins. Hitting dingers in nearly every game. They do play some tough teams in May, and that has me a little scared. But, I mean, come on, 20 wins. You can't bet against them right now.
Yeah, I mean, they have the best run differential by far in all of baseball right now. They are cruising right along. So, number 3 for me is very, very tricky. There are some teams that really have some friendly schedules. I mean, the Yankees, they've got a pretty tough month of May, I think. In my opinion, I think they got a tough month of May. And I don't know if you saw this, Aaron Judge left the game with an injury today. That is very concerning moving forward. There are a couple of teams that I could pick that would really, I think, surprise you. The Blue Jays are right there, but man, they only have a couple of days off in the entire month. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get bold right here, Jacob. I'm going to throw at you the Cleveland Guardians.
They were on my list. Absolutely.
I think this pitching is going to keep them in games no matter who they're playing. The Yankees and Twins right out of the gate, but then things settle down. They've got the Mets to close things out, as well as the Cardinals, who are up and down. But I mean, all in all, they're going to be competitive in baseball games. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Cleveland Guardians at 3. Number 4 is
hold on. Let me talk about the Guardians a little bit, because other than the Twins, their division is not looking good, and they get to play their division a lot this next month. I like that pick. I don't think that's bold at all. I think that's right in line.
All right, and let me see if I can really surprise you.
Okay.
You know what? I'm going to save that for my number 5 pick. My number 5 pick, I think, will throw you off just a little bit. Number 4 for me is, again, I almost just, I think, reached a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and take the Yankees. I am going to take the Yankees.
Okay.
I think Aaron Judge is going to avoid a major injury. This would have been a lock for me if Aaron Judge wouldn't have just gotten hurt a little bit ago. This team plays quite a bit of home games, and the tough games that they do play are at home. They've got Tampa Bay at home. They also have to go to Tampa Bay. They get San Diego at home, so they're going to hit the long balls. They also get to play the Oakland A's. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Yankees at number 4.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's see. I'm at number 4. You know who else plays the A's a lot? A whole 7 games. Give me the Mariners. These guys have got to figure some stuff out soon, right? I know we just heard it. Robbie Ray out. That hurts.
Yeah.
They have been doing okay with their replacement pitchers. Their pitching, their starting rotation has done what they needed to do. The offense, I feel like, is starting to figure it out. More guys in that lineup are starting to figure it out and not going 0 for 7 slumps every 3 games. So yeah, give me those Mariners. I like those guys. You gotta love these guys, right?
You got to.
Number 5. I am between 2 teams. One that would have been an easy April pick, and so far just does not look like it may be the best option for May. The other one I've liked since the beginning of the year, but they play my other picks too much. So between those two, I got to go the Dodgers. It's not the same team as last year, but they have to wake up at some point, right? They don't have that easy of a schedule to bounce back with, but law of averages, I think they've got to be higher than what they've been playing. So for team number 5, give me the Dodgers.
All right. Team number 5 for me is a team I know you're not anticipating me picking, but they have played some tough teams in the month of April. And yeah, their record's not going to blow you away. They're just sitting at 500. They do play the Atlanta Braves right out of the gate to open up May. Then the rest of the schedule: Chicago, Arizona, the Reds, the Nats, Giants, Rockies. Give me the Miami Marlins.
Okay.
They're hitting the ball a lot better than I think a lot of people anticipated. The pitching hasn't even hit their full stride yet. Sandy Alcantara, he is off to a little bit of a slow start, as slow of a start as I guess is even possible for the Cy Young winner. I think this team is locked and loaded to have a pretty good month of May. After that, we'll see what happens. The schedule gets a little bit tougher, but go ahead and give me the Marlins. It might be a little bit of a stretch, but I like what I've seen from them so far.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned Arizona as an easy team to beat. They're playing really good right now. They were actually one of my underdogs. If you took a lot of my teams, they were there at the bottom that I was going to pick, and I don't have a lot of faith keeping them in first place. And then the other team that I was kind of teetering on was the Rangers. They're off to a pretty hot start. Play a lot of slacking teams coming up in May. But no, I'm happy with my picks. I think that I thought outside of the box quite a bit. I think I might have you this time around.
Well, I completely disagree. I don't think you stand a chance, really. Another team that I had anticipated or I thought about picking were the Pittsburgh Pirates, but I just don't buy that they stay as hot as they are. So I went ahead and passed on them. So they
play a lot of really good teams in May.
Play a lot of really good teams. A lot of the teams I had already drafted. So there is our May team draft. That'll do it for this episode, though, of the Kingsmen Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for sticking with us for a long episode. I know with the mock draft, it's a little bit hard. So next week we will be, or I guess I should say in 2 weeks, probably in that amount of time, we will be back for another edition of our Mount Rushmore series coming up. Of course, the Dodgers. That'll be a really fun one. We'll also see how the NFL draft actually played out, if we have any really hot takes coming in about that. And of course, there will be a lot of baseball to talk about in the next episode. A lot that will be going on. Is Aaron Judge going to be healthy at the next episode? The Yankees could have some issues. So there's a lot of stuff that's already shaping up that we will talk about in the next episode. But we will see you then in 2 weeks for a new episode of the Kingsman Sports Podcast.